In HEMA, hand shots tend to have kind of a bad reputation. People can think of them as cheap shots, dirty tricks. If you snipe the hands your entire bout, someone's probably not gonna like you that much. But is that fair? Well, let's talk about it. HEMA is an acronym that stands for Historical European Martial Arts, which is an umbrella term for a bunch of different types of combat. But the one you usually see is what's called Blossfechten, or unarmored combat, sometimes translated as bear combat. And what that means is people fighting in clothes that are kind of like this. No, this is not historically accurate, but it is the level of armor they would have been using. When you see people fighting in big shiny armor, that is called Harnessfechten, and that was a completely different thing, usually for the battlefield. This is a dueling art form. You're either having a duel with somebody you don't like to the death or to first blood. Maybe it's a street brawl that gets out of hand. Because people aren't wearing armor, the hands are very exposed. The hands themselves are very delicate. Hitting them at all is probably going to cause a lot of damage. And because the hands are the thing holding the sword, it makes them a great target. We also have to remember that these duels were not always to the death. Oftentimes they were to first blood, or until the other person couldn't fight anymore. And if you want to stop your opponent from attacking you with a sword, well, I don't see a better target than the hand. It's the closest thing to your opponent. So if I'm standing here and I'm in a guard, what's closest to you? It's my hands. My sword is here, my hands are here, and everything else is behind this. I have a lot of time to block and parry, and I'm well defended if you're trying to get a deep target. But a shallow target like the hands is a perfect way to enter. Even if I don't make that shot and it's parried, I have successfully pulled your guard away so I can come to the next thing. So entering with a hand shot is actually fairly standard practice in HEMA. And if you're able to get it, well, that just means your opponent wasn't guarding themselves well enough. There are some problems with the way we handle hand shots in HEMA. The first one is people who complain about them. This is more a problem for the defender than it is for the attacker. If I can hit your hands, well, you weren't guarding well enough. A legitimate complaint is the fact that our protective gear does not really mimic being unarmored. You can see the difference in size between my hand in the glove and my hand not in the glove, which means that you can pop a hand shot over the crossguard and hit the gauntlet when you might not be able to do so with bare skin. But we are talking millimeters of difference here. And usually a good referee can tell when a hand shot was quality or when it wasn't. So if you get a very tippy hand shot like that probably wouldn't have hit the hand, kind of 50-50 whether or not it would have done something. Another issue with hand shots is the way we score them in HEMA. Usually they are given the lowest value of points. Sometimes there's no differentiation between point values. For instance, in some rule sets, if I hit someone in the head, it's worth 1 point. If I hit them in the hands, it's worth 1 point. Everything is 1 point. But in other rule systems, there's weighted scoring. So if I hit someone in the head, it could be worth 2 or 3 points, where a hand shot's always 1 point. And on its own, that's not terrible. But when we add in afterblow, it becomes an issue. Sometimes afterblow subtracts from the person's score. Afterblow is if I hit someone and then they hit me back within a certain time frame, that's afterblow. So when I attack someone in the hand and I get 1 point and they hit me and then I lose 1 point, it's a wash. But the problem with this is hand shots would stop afterblow in most cases. If you hit someone in the hand, it's very likely they're not going to be able to hold their sword for the follow-up attack. Now, it's almost impossible to tell this for certain because these aren't sharp swords, and we're not going to screw around and find out for real whether or not it would stop each other. But I think it's worth considering. One of the coolest parts about HEMA is that it is still evolving as a martial art. We have people who are still translating different manuscripts, different interpretations of different techniques are still being invented and nuanced, and the rule sets are always changing and evolving as we try and get closer and closer to realistic combat with swords. And one of the things that I think we should do as we're doing this is give handshots a little bit more respect than they're getting right now. Thank you for watching, and please consider supporting the channel on patreon.com or YouTube memberships. Support from viewers like you is what helps us keep creating these videos week after week, and we really appreciate it.